On episode 258 of the Tennis Files podcast, you'll learn about training mistakes, pressure points, and footwork intensity with Jorge Capestany. Hey there, this is Mirban. Welcome to another episode of the show. Really great to have you here listening. I hope you're doing well. I actually have not been playing as much tennis lately because I suffered from a little bout of COVID. I've been traveling a bit lately here and there, and unfortunately I did pick it up, but fortunately for me, the symptoms were pretty mild, so definitely really grateful for that, but definitely also have really missed playing tennis. It's been a little bit too tired to do so, obviously, but looking forward to getting back on track and getting my fitness levels back as well. But today we have a really insightful session with Coach Jorge Capestany. I've had him on my podcast before as well as my summits, and to give you some background on him, if you don't already know, he's only one of 12 people worldwide that has earned the distinction of Master Professional with the USPTA and International Master Professional with the PTR. He is a 6-time Michigan Pro of the Year and 2-time Midwest Pro of the Year, and was also named National Pro of the Year by both USPTA and PTR. So it really doesn't get much better than that in terms of coaching resumes. And Jorge is also a great guy as well. And today you're going to hear about the biggest mistakes that club level players make when trying to develop their game, why you shouldn't be addicted to technique if you want to win more matches, the proper balance between match play and practice, why closing out a tennis match is much more difficult than winning in other sports, the concept of pressure points and how to train them, how to have intense footwork and a relaxed upper body during matches, and much more. And today's session is from a special IP session that I had with Jorge and some Tennis Files members. And so I think that you'll really gain a lot from it. You know, Jorge is just a wealth of knowledge, and I always really learn a lot when he comes on to the show or on the summit. So really hope that you enjoy it. So without further ado, here is Jorge Capestany.
Yeah, well, everybody, I'll just start off, but welcome to this Summit VIP session with Jorge Capestany. I mean, Jorge has many, many distinctions. I'm actually pulling up his bio now just so we can remember. But yeah, I mean, you're what? You're still a master professional with the USPTA, International Master Professional with the PTR, and you were named National Pro of the Year by both the USPTA and PTR. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I paid him off. A lot of money, but no. Yeah, I just been at it for a while, so I think that helps.
Cool. Yeah, no, you do a great job. And yeah, I'm on the road, everybody, so I'm hoping my internet connection stays all right. And if not, Jorge will carry it. And I also have a hotspot, so I might have to put that up in case the Wi-Fi is bad. But yeah, I guess to start off, I'll just ask a few questions or maybe one. But Jorge, like, what are the biggest mistakes do you think that club level tennis players make when they're trying to develop their game? You know, they're trying to reach their maximum potential, but maybe they're making a couple of these mistakes that kind of hinder them from doing that.
Yeah. I think of a couple that come to mind right away is an addiction to technique. I know a lot of people are trying to acquire prettier and prettier strokes, and they lose to somebody, or they'll look at someone else's strokes and say, oh man, that looks good. So they kind of erroneously equate pretty looking strokes with being a better player. And those aren't necessarily, so that's a big one. I mean, as a club pro for, I don't know how many years, closing in on 40 now, I found that I had a lot of adults do this, and they keep searching for the better looking serve, or can you fix my forehand? And I use this phrase when I teach called the range of acceptability. It's not unique to me. I can't remember who I got it from because I've been using it for decades. But obviously, if you look at the top 10 forehands on the planet, either on the male side or female side, there's a ton of similarities and there's a ton of slightly different things you see. Some people break the plane. You can see the racket on the other side of the body. Some people don't. Some people have what's called ATP, where they really kind of, almost like a whiplash. Some people don't. So I learned a long time ago that my job as a coach is to help explain to whoever I'm working with, Chris or Neil or Jamie, and saying, okay, guys, this is good enough. This forehand you have, everything's in the range of acceptability. So now it's time to move off technique, and then phase 2 begins. And phase 2 for me is strategy. How not so much how to hit it, but like where do you hit it? So one of the things I have in my office is a quote that if you come in there, you'll see it. It says, how you hit the ball matters. Where you hit the ball matters more. So if you're a beginner, 3.0 and under, kind of a newish player, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of technique. But once you get to that 3-5 level, it's time to move on. And obviously, if you have a glaring weakness, a total grip screw up, or a swing path is totally wrong, then we can address that. But that's number one. And then the other affliction I see, I'm going to say this one affects juniors more than adults, but it's an imbalance in their regimen, their practice regimen. So at my club right now, I probably have 300 juniors in the program. Probably 200 of them are high school kids who are playing once a year during a season. And probably out of that 200 high schoolers, I'll throw middle schoolers in there as well. Probably 150 or more don't play a match, like ever. Like, we'll see you next spring and we'll play again. So they take lessons, they take privates, they take more lessons, they take more group lessons and more semi-privates. And they think they're doing themselves a favor, but they're not doing the match play. Practice match play would be the easiest thing to do, because at least there's some pressure. I'm playing Neil, I don't want to lose, right? So, but then the tournament pressure is even more important. And I'm not kidding and all my coaching friends say the same thing. There's an epidemic of what I call serial drillers. They just drill and drill and drill and drill, and you never play. I'm not even kidding when I say it's 3/4 of the kids in my program. I know why they're there. None of them want to go pro. They get it, but they want to play high school tennis. That's the big thing in my area. So they'll train year round. I got tons of kids training year round. And what happens is, because they don't want to put it on the line for whatever reason, they think they're doing themselves. I'm just going to do another private. I'm going to do 2 privates a week this year. I'm going to do 3 drills. I'm going to be there every day. But I liken a match to like a quiz. So I work at Hope College, right? And if I were to go into a class at Hope College and the professor said to me, especially if I was 18, said to me, listen, you guys are adults now. I'm not going to give you a quiz. I want you just to show up, and there'll be a final. Okay. But just make sure you come. You might think, wow, that's a great class. No quizzes, no pop quizzes, no exams, even just the final. So, until the very last day, when I go in there, okay, it's finals day. I've been coming pretty regularly. And I look at the first answer on the final, 100% of my grade rise on this, and I don't know the answer. And then I'm like, So then I go to the second question, and I don't know that answer. And then I go to the third, I'm like, I'm not sure. So in that example, it's dawning on me right then and there, I'm going to fail this class. What I should have been doing is taking these quizzes along the way, getting feedback saying, hey, Jorge, you suck at this class and you got to get some help. That's what a match is. Practice matches and tournament matches for kids are just feedback, so they can go say, okay, I just did another test and the results came back and my serve is a little shaky and my backhand's horrible. Why on earth would you want to learn that during tryout week? Or if you're a state, if you're an adult player, they'll do it during, when they go out for their club teams or their league teams, or they're going to the districts or the sectionals or the nationals. So those are the 2 big ones: addiction to technique and just being completely out of whack when you're in your regimen. Tennis has, I did not invent these, but tennis, you train your fitness, so your movement, you train your technique for sure, you train your strategy, and you train your mental. And a lot of people, they don't want to do that. You go up to your average 17-year-old high school boy and say, let's work on the mental skills today. And they'll look at you like, are you crazy? I got to have I didn't lose because of that. I lost because I don't have a forehand like Adam over there. I want one of those. And they're chasing the shiny object. So those are the two things I find are the most common in my experience.
Awesome, Jorge. I appreciate that. A lot of great information there that I hope you all find useful. I'll just let you all ask away, and then I'll kind of sit back and have some background, some questions of my own later on if we need me to jump in. But does anyone have any either follow-up questions to what Jorge had? Okay. I didn't see who was first. Last time I picked Jamie to be first, so this time I'll pick Christopher, but you'll definitely make it in there, Jamie.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Coach, good to have you on the call. Just got a quick follow-up from what you were just saying. I did have a question actually coming into this, which kind of went with your topic over here of what would you suggest is the proper balance between match play and practice.
Right.
But to add to that, what do you attribute people or kids not wanting to go into match play to? And is it something that we only see in tennis, or is this across the board into other sports too for that age bracket?
Great question. Let me try to answer. So I think the reason it happens mostly with kids in my orbit is because they don't have built-in match play like adults. Pretty much every adult that's at my club is playing. That's what they do. They either have permanent court time, so they got every Tuesday. Me and my buddies play at 6. Okay, and what do they think they do? They play matches. They don't drill amongst themselves, so it's built in. And the other faction at my club is that our adults are league players, like USTA league players, and they have a schedule. I mean, they got matches scheduled for them throughout the whole year. I don't have internal leagues, but even if I did, that's kind of match play. So on the adult side, it's kind of built for you. On the tennis side, it's not, so let me use this example of T-ball. Okay. When my daughter was about 7 or 8 years old, my wife and I both coached tennis. So we hoped she would do tennis, but we weren't going to ram it down her throat. So I did the sports buffet. I put my 7-year-old and we had her try volleyball. We had her try tennis. We had her try soccer and karate and T-ball. And we just was going to let her sample everything and decide which ones she liked the most. So what she decided after trying them all was that tennis and volleyball were her two favorite. So let me show you something. This little girl's being a culprit. She's like scratching at the back door over there. This is Flora. So, but when we signed her up for volleyball or for soccer, here's what happened. We showed up. They said, okay, here's when you practice. Here's when you play. I mean, it was expected you were going to play. And I remember in T-ball in particular, we signed her up and they said, okay, the first practice is Thursday. We play our first game on Saturday. I go, they're going to play a game? Like, my daughter doesn't even know how to hit a ball. And if she does, I don't know if she knows to run to first base. So guess what I did? That Saturday or Friday, we played catch and I threw her some balls and she did all that kind of stuff. But the point is, in almost every other junior sport, you sign up for soccer, whatever, and you get two things. Here's the practices, here's the games. Okay. In junior tennis, when you go to a club, here's what our classes are. Well, when do we play? Maybe they have it, maybe they don't. You can go look up a USTA tournament, but not right away because you gotta, you have to learn first. Let me let my doggy out. She hears my wife in the next room. She wants to get the heck out. So that would be one of the problems. Okay. And then the other problem is that I think juniors in particular, so I've been teaching for 40 years. So I reckon back to like 35 years ago, if I would have a class with a dozen 10-year-old kids, literally all 12 out of 12, if I said, pick up a ball and throw it that way, 12 out of 12 of them would have picked up a ball and done this and done that. If I do that today, 3 of them will turn sideways and throw properly. The other ones will sling it, they'll shot put it. They're not getting basic running, catching, throwing and stuff with. that I did with my parent or my kid or my friends. That's all we did. So they're really probably amazing in computer games. So it's a definite. I coined this phrase that I don't mean it to be insulting, but I think it's accurate, that a lot of these little 8 and 9-year-olds that are playing, they're athletically illiterate. They don't know how to run and catch and skip. So we spend a lot of our time in our tennis class just learning those kind of skills. So I think the sport itself of tennis is one of the hassles is when you're going to a club, you have a child, okay, my kid wants to play tennis, I'm going to try it. There's not always a follow-up program because the pro that club goes, well, 8-year-old can't play tennis. They can't serve and rally. So don't give them anything. But they mistake that. Well, there could still be a competition, right? It could be a skills competition. It could be a rally along the ground competition just to get them in the idea that, in tennis, you practice and you compete. So first answer is, I think a lot of it's inherent. Secondly, because those kids are athletic illiterate, I say way more now than in the past. Ego is like, I don't want to test myself. I don't want to put it on the line and possibly lose. That's all we did, man. Back in my day when I was if we drilled, it wasn't 30 minutes where all of us were like, let us play. Let's play singles, let's play doubles. We wanted to play immediately. Now at my summer academy, they'll drill and I say, okay, let's pause. Let me have Neil and Chris. You're going to go over here. I want you to play a set. Half the time can we just play doubles? So there's something going on there that's kind of a bummer. I do think tennis struggles with it more than other sports. I don't coach other sports, at least not in mass. But I think because those other sports, right? When, if you go to soccer and you want to start your little 8-year-old in soccer, I guarantee you're going to get a practice and a game time. The games are going to be ugly. They're going to be like a little pile of kids just running around all next to each other. But they're going to play. And no one, if you sign up for T-ball and they gave you a paper, here's the 17 times we practice, and we're never going to play a game. A parent will go, what the hell you mean? This isn't normal. But for tennis, they don't think twice about it. So that's kind of, I think, what we're facing. Adults, it's just way easier because it's built in. They're a little more mature, obviously. Some adults no one wants to lose, but they don't tie it to their self-worth as much.
Right.
So I think that's the difference between those two.
I think another factor maybe too, and give me your feedback on this, is that of all the major sports, tennis is completely an individual sport.
Yep.
So it's all you, particularly if it's singles. You're granted football, baseball, whatever, you do have your role to play, but you're part of the team.
Yeah, that's huge too, because I have this, you got me thinking of this document that I have called Why Tennis is the Toughest Sport. And I list 10 things and 10 rationales, right? And when people hear me say that, they kind of go, what? Tennis isn't the toughest sport, Boxing is the toughest, because they're thinking physical stuff. But when you look at the software, not so much the hardware, the software, one sport. So in a sense, it's like from 80 feet away. It is no timeouts. Imagine, baseball with no timeouts, or basketball, just no timeout. No substitutions. So you're a 10-year-old child, you're playing your first tournament, you just double faulted literally 4 times in a row. You can't get the point going. No one can talk to you. No one can help you. No one can coach you. And no one can substitute you in and say, come on out for a minute and let Billy play. I mean, it's murder. So it's really, really tough. There's no time clock. So I've seen, 10-year-old people play matches over 4 hours long. I've seen it in hot. I've seen it in cold. I've seen it in wind. So changing conditions. There's all these weird things that make tennis uniquely difficult. And then you think about that. Oh, the biggest one is the line calls, right? So I have parents, lots of them are new. And I think us tennis players just take for granted the idea that, it's a gentleman's sport and I'm going to call the lines fairly and trust that you'll do the same thing. That's a huge responsibility that's given to the players that no other sport does, right? So my analogy there is you go to a middle school basketball game and you play basketball, right? And you say, okay, guys, here's the deal. We're not going to have referees. You're going to call your own fouls. That's basically what we do in tennis. We call our own fouls. Can you imagine a middle school team playing another middle school team with hundreds of parents, how that would go? It would be a riot within a half hour. I mean, people freaking out. Same thing in high school or in baseball. Okay, we're playing a baseball game, this high school versus this high school. Listen, honor system, the batter, the guy who's batting, when you throw it to Jorge who's batting, Jorge will decide if that's a ball or a strike. And I call 4 balls, even though they're strikes, boom, fist fight. But we'll give that responsibility to tennis players, even 10-year-old tennis players, and wonder why they freak out or wonder this kid hit the ball in the middle of the court and the kid called it out. Blatant cheating like that couldn't go on in any other sport, but it could in ours. So I think these are all little things that people don't think about. Us tennis players just kind of take it for granted, like, yeah. But when you look at it through that prism, I'd love to see an NBA game where they call their own fouls. And let's just say, hey, go ahead and do it, guys. That would, I imagine that would be like worth watching. It would be they'd be so mad and it'd be a fight. Because all that fairness and stuff comes externally and it's built into pretty much every sport. And our sport is given over to the players. And people are human, so you can't bank on the fact that they're going to be great. You can almost bank on the fact that you're going to run into your lifetime, but 10% of the people you play are going to be just maniacs that unethical, they cheat, they gamesmanship, all kinds of craziness. But I think those are I love talking about that because I always get people riled up when I say a phrase like tennis is the world's toughest sport. Let me tell you why. And they're like, no way, because they keep thinking like football or something that's physically tough. And I'm like, by the way, if you ever watch remember these, Novak played Rafa years ago at the Australian Open as one of those epic matches. And I've seen this happen 2 or 3 more times. So they play this 5.5-hour match. And during the ceremonies, they're both just doubled over. Okay. Like they bring them chairs. They brought them freaking chairs to sit in. And I go, oh my God. So the sprinting and the stopping, all the, world-class athletes are amazing. They all are, right? Football players, basketball players, but tennis players, the running and the stopping and the running and the stopping, and that those are all explosive, like 700 bursts of energy in a tennis match. That's just what a regular 2 out of 3. So on that day, probably Rafa and Novak had like 300 or 3,000 times where they changed direction and sprinted, squealing on hard courts, going this way. And people just go, yeah, that's not a tough sport. And I'm thinking, it's crazy.
Love that. Thanks, Jorge. So let's go with Jamie then. I know you had a question as well.
Yeah, I was going to say both of the two, I guess, big issues you mentioned really hit me. So I'm 35. I was put in lessons when I was 8, spent 10 years in ineffective junior tennis. 8 of those years at least were spent at my current club, Germantown Cricket Club, which is a historic landmark club. But I would actually say for me, the experience was a little bit different than what you're saying. I felt like no one would put me in matches. And year after year after year, all I wanted was to make my private school JV team. All I wanted. And year after year, I was on third team in the woods, learning nothing. And I was like, we're a historic club. What the heck is going wrong? And my mom said, well, you're probably not doing the other things the other girls are doing. I was like, what things? Nobody told me there were other things. I don't know. Right. And so took 10 years off, came back in 2016. For the past 5 years, I've steadily built up my technique, which is fine. I'm not losing matches because of my technique. I'm losing matches because I still haven't learned how to compete. And in particular, and I figured this out over the weekend, I blow leads all the time. Game after game, set after set, match after match. I can't hold on to it. And I haven't figured out what I'm missing to close that loop.
Well, I have an idea because I've seen that inability to close, not being a good front runner, is a pretty common thing, as you can imagine. A lot of people feel that way about themselves. I'm going to be looking over here because I want to see if I can pull up something. But in the meantime, let me tell you what I think usually, what I found more often than not, is this. So it sounds like you didn't get a chance to compete, that much in juniors. Okay. And then you came back and now you're starting to compete. But think of competition. This is how I explain it to my players and adults. I got you like a little figurine, Jamie. And every time I match, it's like I dunk you in this liquid and I lift you back out. And there's a little outer coating of toughness. Okay. I let it dry. And then I dunk you in again a week later. And you build up a little callus and you're like, okay, I got a little bit more experience. And now imagine you've been dunked in 10 times. Okay. So you're starting to get a little tough on the outside. But Meerbond is dunked in 2,670 times because that's how many matches he's competed from juniors to USTA and whatnot. Well, when you put those two people on the court, assuming their strokes are 100% even, there's just an undeniable benefit or advantage that person with the experience will have. So there is no match. I have these two phases. Ball count matters. So in other words, if I'm teaching and it's a fancy drill, that's good. But if you're not hitting, hundreds of forehands and someone else is hitting hundreds of forehands, ball count matters. I have a drills website that it's pretty well known in the whole world. But some drills are better than others and some training is better than others. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is tennis has this diabolical scoring system. Dr. Alan Fox wrote this book, Winning the Mental Game. I recommend it highly. But basically, here's what he says. The way tennis is scored is so funky because the points aren't cumulative, right? In almost every other sport, a point goes up on the board, you score a touchdown, it stays on the board. Okay, you score 2 points, a 3-pointer in basketball, it stays. There's none of this going backwards crap. In tennis, they're not cumulative. I could be playing Meerbond and then all of a sudden I'm up. All of a sudden it's 5-5. We've been at it for an hour, really competitive match. And then it's 6-6. Now we're in a tiebreaker, 3-3. And we both know that in the next couple of minutes, one of us is going to gain half this match and the other one is basically going to go back to zero. It's like getting your whole, and that's weird. So imagine, I'm sure there's basketball games on tonight, NBA, and they had a different scoring system where they said, okay, you play, let's do a timeout. Okay, guys, it's the third quarter. The game is 72-68. Here's how we're going to finish the game. We're going to take off the clock and you're going to play up to 80. Whoever wins the game. Okay, that's what tennis does. So now what happens, the urgency is like through the roof, right? And you would see the team that's ahead, maybe not being able to close out, choking, and this team hits a 3-pointer, now they hit a 3-pointer, and like, in basketball, if you got a 20-point lead, you're going to win if you got a few minutes left. In tennis, not. This has happened to me. I've been on the receiving end and the dishing out end of this next example, just to give you an idea. So I'm up 5-0 in the third set. I've been up 5-0 in the third set. I've been down 5-0 in the third set. One time when I was up 5-0 in the third set, I'm thinking, of course, it's over. I got this thing. I think I lost the first set 6-4. I won the second set 6-2, and I'm up 5-0. I mean, I'm ready to shake hands, basically. But contrast this with ping pong, by the way. In ping pong, I'm playing you, and I have 20, and you have 9. You have basically 11 sudden death points facing you right now. Okay, you can't even make one mistake. You lose 1 point, it's over. Now let's compare that to 5-0 lead in the third set for tennis. I'm up 5-0. You can make mistakes. You can make lots of mistakes. As long as you just win the game, you got 1. So I got 5, you got 1. And right now I'm thinking, no problem, 5-1, I got this. And then we play a next game and I win points, you win points. There's no sudden death for you. I win some more points, and all of a sudden somehow you grab that game. All right, long fought game. I got 5, you got 2. Okay, you might have played 15, 20 points or not facing sudden death. Right, and now at 5-2, I'm usually still okay emotionally, but I'm starting to say things in my head like, okay, come on, Jorge, let's freaking do this. Don't be an idiot here. Let's finish this off. And then we start the next game, and I win some points and you win some points, and the game's going fine, but it's a long game and you win it. 5-3. What do you think the mindset is of this person right now? Healthy? No. Up 5-3, anybody would say, yeah, I'll take a 5-3 lead in the third set any day. But when it was 5-0 and now it's 5-3, even though I've got comfortable, I really still have a comfortable lead. My attitude is crap. Oh my God, this is crazy. So, by the way, if it ever gets to 4-5, I think I read an article on this. We'll play another game. I have 5, you have 4. I'm still ahead, right? Mathematically, if from 0 to 4, this guy loses more often than not, even though he has 5 to 4, because of his state of mind. He's so pissed and I can't believe it. How could I not? I always do this crap. I'm such a choker, and they get really negative. And that's kind of normal. So it's a really bizarre scoring system that's kind of diabolical. So it's really easy to make comebacks compared to how easy it is to make a comeback in tennis at 5-0 compared to ping pong. Okay. And conversely, it's really difficult to finish someone off. You could be up 5-0, but you still got to finish people off. And if the games have been close, I could have got that 5-0 lead, winning 5 really close games. So I think what I would say is, what I've learned is that you got to play match point or match play, but I call tennis points in 2 categories: regular points and pressure points. Okay. So what a pressure point is they happen, the way I define it is near the end of the game when it's deuce or passed. Okay. And when the set is 4-4 or later. Okay. So if I played you, and most people would agree to this, there's not a lot of pressure, when it's 1-1, 15 all. There's nobody's going to win here in the next minute or so. Okay. But when that game is 15 all, love, it's no pressure. But as soon as add out, now I know, okay, there's something's on the line here. And this play, it's only worth 1 on the scoreboard. I intellectually get it, but something's going on. I feel different when it's add out second serve than I do when it's love 15 second serve. So the scoreboard, even though they're all worth 1 point, emotionally they're not. They kind of weigh differently. So what I found is a lot of the people who I work with who couldn't close matches out, I started having them do this type of training where I would say, okay, so Jamie, today you're going to play Maribon, but here's the deal. I don't want you to play a regular match. By the way, if you play regular match, and let's revisit what pressure is: 4-4 in the game and later, 4-4 in the set, or deuce or later. Okay, if you play normal set, Maribon and I would probably, in 1 hour's time, probably play well under 50% of those points would be not pressure. They'd be kind of like love 15, 30-30, stuff like that. So you don't really, even though you're playing and you're putting yourself in a pressure situation, which I love, you can ramp that up. So what I do is I have my players play with a different game. So I would say, okay, Jamie, you're going to play Maribon, but here's how we're doing it today. You're going to play for an hour. I want every game to start at 30-30. And I want every set to start at 4-4. And you're going to play endless. You might get through 7 sets here. Who knows? So what happens is people, I explain that and they kind of go, okay, yeah, I get it. And then all of a sudden, let's try it. So they go out and they double fault. Boom. Immediately with 0 second, break point in your face, break point. Like, oh, sheesh, now I want. So now they have to deal with that pressure point. And then maybe they choke the next one. Maybe they win and now it's deuce and they're into a battle. Or maybe I don't double fault the next, but Maribon hits a win in return. So like literally in 10 seconds, I'm down 4-5. Now I'm facing break. Now you're serving it out. So it's kind of corny, but if you manipulate the game, I love that game. I call it pressure scoring. And I have like dozens of these. Another one that I recommend is you play, Chris and Neil could be my students. And I say, okay, guys, go ahead and play. Here's how we're scoring it today. The very first point of the game is worth 40. And then regular scoring after that. So if I serve to Chris and I double fault, love 40. And then we play out regular scoring. Or if I ace him, 40 love. So what it does is it overemphasizes the importance of the first point, which is a weird, every time you add value to a point, it creates pressure. Okay, don't miss this point, Jorge. And then the third one I love is called deuce and done. So I would play Maribon and I would serve and then he would serve. And here's how it goes. It starts at deuce and I serve 2 points and only 2 points. If I win both points, I get the game. If he wins both points, a game. More often than not, we split the points and neither of us gets the game. So I hit an ace, I hit a double fault, nothing. Okay, now it's your 0-0 in the set. Now Maribon goes. He hits an ace, and then I hit a winner return, nothing. So it forces you to string points together, especially near the end of the game. So I think that, I don't know what's in people's hearts. Some people just tell me, man, I have nerves. Like when I compete, I get so nervous. I feel like puking and I know it's just tennis, but my brain isn't letting me think that. So those could be some other issues. But, one of the things, I have a whole mental toughness course that I did just recently because I just know that's important to me. By the way, we'll put this here. If you go to Capestany Tennis or JorgeCapestany.com, just my name, that's my free website. And on that, there's an opt-in. You can get a 4-part mental toughness series. It's literally free. But here's the titles of the video: Fear of Losing, Closing Out Opponents, Nerves and Choking, and Your Inner Voice, which I don't tell people this too much in public, but those are my 4 demons when I competed as a junior. I sucked at those 4 things specifically. Okay. Fear of losing, I just would get so nervous. I couldn't close out people very well. At least I thought I couldn't. My inner voice was horrible. It was an assassin. I would walk around. Sometimes my inner voice became an outer voice and I'd make an ass of myself because I'm, you idiot, you cow, all this stuff. And then nerves and choking. So it's free. It's really good. So JorgeCapestany.com, get it because anybody can do it. And it comes to you over 3 or 4 days. And it has a little follow-along quiz and stuff. Yes, Neil.
Yeah, so we hear all about during the summit the importance of being relaxed. Mm-hmm. When you hit the serve, whatever, you want to be relaxed. So my challenge is, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is that I can focus on a nice, relaxed arm movement, but I get so relaxed, my feet stop moving. Don't bend my knees, don't rotate my hips or anything like that. How do you remember or think to do everything and you just don't fall asleep up there and just start to wave your arm like a flag in the wind or something like that?
Yeah, I have an idea for that. I kind of you have Jeff Greenwald on the summit, right? Isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So he has this thing called the 2 dials. Okay. And I use the 2 dial concept, but I'm different for something else. So I agree. When I try to get a player, often what I'll do is if I see a player that's kind of too tight, usually they, give it away, tension is really tight and they're pushing the ball and there's no fluidity. I can bring the ball machine out and then I'll demonstrate. I'll be right next to them. So, okay, here's my impression of you. And then I'll kind of do something like that. And then here's my impression of me. And it's more fluid. And it looks to the eye, they can go, okay, I get it. And then they go in there and they can pretty much replicate it. And then we say, okay, now let's go to rally and do the same thing. And then what you mentioned happens is their feet get relaxed and it's not intensity. So on the intensity dial, you think of 2 things. You think of your stroke or your swing speed. Okay. And you crank that up to super intense, like muscly and hard versus just fluid and easy. And then a second is your body. So the magic is you don't take your footwork and your tension and put them both over here towards, you don't want to take them both over here towards super easy. The key is to keep your footwork dial up. So there's lots of touches in the ground, but your stroke dial down. It's this, not that.
Yeah.
So one little tip that's super old school, but it works. I'll have my people, the way I can measure it, because they're like, How do I know if my feet are still staying? It's super easy. I just count how many steps their feet hit the ground between strokes. So I hit a ball, and then every foot, by the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just count. And there's data. Okay. 3-0 players average about 7 or 8. 4-0 players average about 8 or 9. 5-0 players are over 10 steps between their shots. I hit it. Boom, 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 boom. Those are all count. Each foot counts. So, and you can get an average if you do it pretty good. So I can measure that and say, okay, your footwork is down. You're getting like 6. Let's pick your footwork up. And as soon as I do that, they start wailing on the ball. Okay, we got to separate these things. Keep your footwork up, and let's get the stroke. And the weird thing that's super old school but works is I have them say something, exhale, and I have them say the word smooth. I don't have them say smooth. I have them say smooth, because if they're exhaling that way, their stroke tends to match it. So pop, 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 smooth, pop, 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 pop with the feet, smooth. And that's a corny way, but a pretty effective one that I've helped people kind of fix those dials. But I kind of agree. I remember as a junior being told the same thing. I was kind of like, I didn't have a lot of fluidity. I had this crappy two-hander that I kind of jerked around, and I kind of had a wrong grip, and I kind of shoveled it. My elbow was high. It was really self-taught, horrible. And when I was getting taught to be more fluid, I had a hard time keeping my strokes fluid and easy. Doesn't mean soft hitting, just kind of fluid, and my footwork intensity, because they were connected. I cranked my feet up, my strokes went up with it. So I had to kind of learn to separate those two. But that's super helpful to some of my students, and it was to me as well.
That's a real good point. Is think of it as 2 dials, because the feet have to be moving a lot. Yeah. And at the same time, the stroke needs to be nice and relaxed, because if you get too relaxed on the feet, then you just kind of sit there and you become almost like a spectator, right? Not moving after the ball, but you can hit it very nice and relaxed.
Right. There's, the people that naturally played that way. And I know there's not probably tons of footage, but there is a McEnroe, but McEnroe was that way. McEnroe had very loosey-goosey strokes, but his feet were busy. Frankly, McEnroe in his early age kind of looked out of shape, right? That was like the rap on him. It's like, he's not even in shape. He fixed that later in his career. But the other one you guys know is Paul Annacone. Now he made it pretty damn far a lot of tournaments. I'm not saying there's tons of footage of him, but I remember specifically thinking that of him. He was really good, and his strokes were nice and calm. They weren't slappy, they weren't flicky. He just had this smoothness to him. And not that that's for everybody, right? Like Rafa doesn't play that way. Rafa's got a more violent game, violent swings. Federer has a more fluid swing. That's if Rafa tried to replicate Federer, it probably wouldn't be Rafa, and vice versa. No. So, but most people don't need all that violent stroke. But I say that because it's in the range of acceptability. If I was coaching Rafa, I would probably notice pretty on, okay, this kid, this is all about it, like everything he does. Rafa puts city miles on his body. Fed puts highway miles on his body.
Yeah.
You want to put highway miles on your body whenever possible. And some people, it's just not possible, because of the way they're. Rafa freaking runs out of the tunnel. I mean, the guy, his dial is kind of broken over here on high, but it works for him.
Yep. Well, thank you. That was great.
Awesome. Love it. Great questions so far. Anybody else want to pop in with a question?
If no one else, I have another quick question for Jorge. Sure. So on the serve, I was told that I often drop my head. I come through and my head drops, my body drops, and the serve goes in the net. Any tips for somehow keeping your head up as you hit the serve?
I have a phrase for that. It's called see the blur. So what happens is it's not uncommon. The reason people do that is because it's a way to add power, frankly. The ball's up here, your gut starts to kind of collapse a little bit, and your pulls down. It helps your racket come through. So I'll show you the wrong way. I know I'm not serving here, but the ball goes up, and then right here, the point of contact's being made, and my eyes are that way. Okay. There's even some good players that do that, but the better way is that you see this, boom. So the eyes are up here, and what will happen, that point of contact, because our eyes see it 24 frames a second, you won't see it hit. It'll just be a blur. So I tell my students, see the blur, see the blur. Did you see the blur? Boom, okay, boom. It's really tough. I had something over here I was going to show you guys because I just happened to notice it. But on the serve, there's basically 9 checkpoints. I'm going to show you guys something because it's just our intimate group here. Might as well. Okay, see if I can pull this up. Boom, boom. 2000. Yeah, right here. Okay, let me see. It's not the one I want. All right, I'm going to try to share my screen. Oh, could you make it so I can share? Mira?
I think I did it.
Okay.
You see it?
You did. Okay. So what I'm going to show you on my screen here is, I'll make this bigger. So there's 9 checkpoints along the way. Let me get rid of this thing. The first is rituals. Okay. The second one is the weight transfer. We're getting close, ball release. There's all these things you can actually check. If you're a tennis coach and you watch a tennis coach watch you serve, this is what he should be looking at, probably is. But if you ever wonder, like, what the hell is he doing over there looking at? This is what I'm doing. You know, I'm checking all these checkpoints and I'm seeing if my student is along the way. Okay, so you see right here in the trophy position for Federer, I'll get this even bigger. So his eyes are definitely uppish, right? You can see it right there. But then on this next one over here, the launch, eyes are still up. And here you can see it's come down, but the ball's already leaving here. So it's up. And then this is something different. But I think that phrase, see the blur, is probably the most helpful thing I've done. Another thing that let me stop sharing, because the other thing that might be helpful is you take your toss and you go up to a curtain, a fence, outside, whatever you are, I'm inside, and you get really close to it and you toss it up against the tarp and then you trap it up against the strings, okay? And that'll give you a chance to practice, because you're not going to be looking forward because you know the ball's not going anywhere. It's just going to be up here. So you toss and you trap it, and you toss, trap it. What you're doing is just trapping or the ball against the strings in the back fence or the string back tarp if you're indoors. And that's a really clever way to kind of fix that. I've got a lot of people get back. But almost always, you know, when someone has that eyes down kind of thing, they're hitting hard, they're trying to really hit hard, and that's the way to do it. I would, okay. You know, even now, if I was going to hit my super hard serve, I might tend to kind of do this a little bit more to kind of get more power. It does contribute to some power. So, you know, I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but we can't lie either. Some people do it because, like, I hit harder when I do it that way. So just see the blur. It's literally going to be a blur. Pop and then down. That's kind of a good tip for that.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I remember asking a really good coach in Junior Tennis Champion Center in Maryland for help with my serve, and he saw that, like, my body posture was collapsing because I wasn't looking up, you know, at the ball when I was striking. And so a lot of good can happen from looking at the blur there. And that's a really great drill, trapping the ball at the fence. So I mean, Tippa submitted a question here. I mean, you kind of covered it. I mean, if you have any other points, let me know. But she asked, I've been working on keeping eyes on the ball longer, but still haven't mastered it. Any tips on the practice for this goal? So I guess, I mean, the fence drill, right? Do you have anything else you want to add there?
Yeah. So this blur idea, I was mentioning it for the serve, but it's the same for the forehand. You know, probably the most famous person that does it well is Federer. Federer seemingly, you know, he had a backhand and his eyes don't come up I mean, he's the one that everybody says, oh, look at how good he does at that. He's kind of like the gold standard. But it's kind of the same thing. You can see the blur, or you can give it a count. What I will say, this is the same thing golfers struggle with, right? I don't golf very much, probably one time a year. But if I do, I know I shouldn't be looking up. And if I do look up, I screw it up quite a bit. So I have to kind of like, and in my case, when I play golf, what I say to myself is see the blades, like the blades of grass. When I hit it, there's usually a couple blades that fly up. So that's what, if I see it, then I can look up. Another thing I've heard a friend of mine likes to teach it, whether it's a forehand serve, whatever, is hear the noise of the hit and then look. So you say, pow, look. And you say those words, pow, when the contact's made, forehand, pow, look, pow, look. And look should trigger a look. So, but you have to verbalize it. It's kind of like a training technique. And it's again, these are corrective measures. Hopefully you don't have to do this because you're not having that problem. But just mentally willing yourself to do it. Look at the damn ball. Look, usually doesn't work. It's like, okay, I got this waiter tray here on my serve. I'm just not going to do it. Good luck. You got autopilot coming up like crazy. It's going to take over. So by doing that thing where I say, look, okay, or hit, or pow and look, pow and look, or hit and look, make it like a rhythmic and say it verbally, audibly. You can't just say it in your head. You got it, because you'll see, and then you'll see if it's not lined up. And if it's not already happening for you, just with a smartphone, you know, I use this thing all the time. And Coach's Eye, one of those apps that you can get for like $2 or something. And I can see strokes, and I fix, you know, when I taught privates 35 years ago, this didn't even exist. The idea of seeing a stroke was like, I literally never saw my strokes ever. And now pretty much every day, I gave a lesson Sunday night to this girl who's a sophomore in high school, really, really good junior, multi-sport athlete, really amazing. And here's what I showed her. Let's see if I can pull it up. She has just switched to a new racket in mid-season, and not a great idea. So I went here and I wanted her to see, right? Because I could verbally explain things, but it's not until she sees stuff. So I know this isn't going to be the world's best thing. So I'm going to make this sideways. Okay, there's my girl right there. You see her. And here's what I was looking at. Right about here, you see that so far? I wanted to make a line, right? Okay, you see the line I drew on there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's what I was telling her. See where her racket is? It's on the right side of her body. She was breaking the plane. Now you see it. She broke the plane. She's way on the other side. There's no way in hell she would see that. She has to be looking forward. And I know, because I used to coach her, she's in the 12s, that she never used to do that. She always had, you know, the ball on the same side. Now, breaking the plane, is it good? It's not what people would teach you out of the gate, but it is in the range of acceptability, because you can, Madison Keys does it, Sloane Stevens does it. There's millionaire players that do it. So, but would I want and aspire for one of my players to break the plane? No, because I know what comes with that is the downsides of that is it's really difficult to return hard serves. It's really difficult to return slices. It's really difficult to return any pace that's super fast. And that's the problem, right? Sharapova was a bit like this. Madison Keys, and as good as they are, if they had to squeeze a little bit more improvement, it would be the ability to handle power, because they just have one gear. And to be able to say, I'm going to pound that one, I'm going to loop this one. I love Madison Keys. I want her to win a slam in the worst way, but I don't see her shaping the ball and pushing people around with loopy shots like every pro on the ATP does. Rafa being the most obvious. So I think it's limiting, but yeah, I think just giving yourself audible tricks is insanely helpful. I tried a lot of stuff, a lot of corrective techniques that haven't worked over the years. I probably tried 10,000 of those, and I probably got about 5 have worked that are in my repertoire. but that's kind of a good one for that.
Very good. Very good. Thanks for it.
Jamie had a question here regarding power. And I do think that when you break the plane, so there's pluses and minuses of every action, right? One of the pluses of breaking the plane is what? Excessive power or extra power. Okay. So if you are a child, an 8-year-old athletic person, guess what they do? They always break the plane because they need that racket to go a good 10 feet of distance before they hit. Whereas a more trained player can do, maybe 4 or 5 feet of movement, but doing it with their body and getting the same amount of power. A younger player doesn't always do that. That's why, obviously, physically speaking, men are generally stronger than women. So guess where most of the breaking of the plane happens? On the WTA tour, the ATP. It's obvious. So it's not to say that it's wrong, but it's just, if I had a kid that was breaking the plane like hers. But so by the way, do you think I fixed that yesterday? I didn't touch it because she's in mid-season. Yeah. She's got a match. Like today, I think she had a match. And so things we say, okay, take a note. After a season, we're going to get after this. And I might even ask her, like she plays multiple sports. I say, how much training are you going to get in tennis? This girl is like the best high school, as a sophomore in high school, she's the best tennis player. She's the best basketball player on varsity, and she's almost the best volleyball player on varsity volleyball. So she's a freak, right? She's really, really good. And tennis is probably as good as she is as a tennis. She won the district qualifier in the 12s both years. She probably won't even play college tennis. So she's playing high school tennis as a fun thing. So I have to factor that in. I probably won't do technical changes left and right on her. But if she was like, I want to play D1 tennis, that's okay. We got to get this crap fixed. So we're going to go through the pain of fixing it.
Oh, thanks, Jorge. Great stuff there. Quite an athlete. So let's see. Mike, do you want to verbally ask your question? I see you have a couple in here, but if you're on, because I see your mic is unmuted, do you want to give it a go?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey.
Actually, it's Paula.
Oh, sorry,
I'm on
Paula.
my computer.
Gotcha.
What did I ask first?
The volleys, practice tips.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to work better on my volleys, and I just didn't know if there was something you could do at home, like is up against a wall, special to help learn, to work with volleys, or is it footwork more, or?
Yeah, I'll tell you my best volley tip.
Okay.
So up against the wall on the volley is actually difficult. It does work, but it's actually kind of hard. You have to be pretty close to the wall. And what I recommend, put it this way, if I take a number one doubles from a local high school boys tennis team, so pretty good player, probably 4 or 5 player, and have a hit on the wall, it's going to be a disaster because it's going to be slapping all over. So I don't usually do that. A volley with a partner that's cooperative, that might be some use. But what I like to do, and I did it with this girl yesterday, is the ball machine. Okay. So here's your goal on the volley. Your eventual goal on your volley is you want to be able to do 3 things. And all good players do these 3 things. You want to take the incoming ball, and you should be able to add power to it. So if the ball coming, Maribon hits a pass, the shot is coming 60 miles an hour, I should be able, in my arsenal, to make that go back 70 miles an hour. That's just one skill I should have. The other skill I should have is I should be able to match it. He sends 60, I send 60. He sends 60, I send 60. And the third one, which everybody overlooks, is he sends 60, I can send it 40.
Okay.
So a good volleyer off both wings, my goal, this is what my personal goal is for all my players, it's on my little progress sheet, is that you can, on either side, add, match, and take power away. So and the best way to teach that is on a ball machine. Okay, just simply say, okay, I'm going to go forehand volley, backhand volley. I'm just going to be adding. Okay, now I'm going to be matching, and now I'm going to be taking off. And just let your body feel that out. And then always finish with this little workout where you go add, add, match, match, off pace. Add, match. Don't just go 100 adds, 100 matches, 100, because that's not realistic. And then here's the tricky part. So you can do that. That's measurable. Then you do it off live hitting, because once you have all three skills, the magic, what makes a true volleyer, is knowing which one to deploy on each volley. Okay. So here's the rookie mistake I find. Almost all my club players think that a good volley, I say, which one of those three do you think the pros do? Do you think they match, add, or take power off? And almost always they say, well, the pros, they add. Okay, but here's stats. The most common volley of those three on the pro tour is the match. The match. Here's why we don't think that, though, because we're watching freaking Nick Kyrgios hit a forehand 98 miles an hour, and then we watch Federer block it into the open court. It goes back 98 miles an hour, which to us looks like a freaking bullet, and we think, oh, he added power. He really didn't. More often, probably 2/3 of the volleys at the pro level are just matching the incoming power. Yet at my club, every 4-0 woman, every 3-0 guy, they have good volleys when you add power. There is a time to add power. You get a floater, you got someone close to the net. Don't just hit it nice. Give a little jab. I'm not saying headhunt, but add power to that ball so it doesn't have time. And the one thing that is super deadly is when you can take power off, especially in singles. If you're volleying, matching the power or adding power, those volleys are going to go back to the baseline where, guess what? The guy probably is. But if you can take power and develop a good drop shot or off angle shot, touch volleys, those end points. The other ones don't necessarily end points. So if I was giving any of you a private lesson, that's probably what I would do. I'd start out of the ball machine and say, okay, show me if you can do this. And then I would either turn the ball machine random and have you just, and then I'd probably pause it, stop. Okay, why did you add power on that one? I don't really know, Jorge. Well, that one was kind of down here close to the net. Maybe you should match it. This other one was a little bit higher. That one, I put up different targets. Third phase would be, let's do this off a live shot. Like you volley towards me, but, let's do it. So now when I'm hitting my ground strokes, you're getting some slice, some high ones, some floaters, some out of your belly, some wide, and you kind of open up the environment so it becomes more realistic. But that's a great way to practice your volley, and almost my Bible for teaching the volley. I'm looking for, I'm checking grips and I'm checking swing sizes, stuff like that. But, assuming those are reasonable, then I want those skills, the ability to do all that.
Jorge, what's the secret to take power off?
In my opinion, the number one tip by a mile is grip tension, the tension of which you hold your grip. So if I'm on a scale of 5, I've really got a hammer grip, to be really honest, I think there was a device that Joe Dinifer had a long time ago. It's something that you could slip onto your grip of your racket, and then your finger would go on top of it. And if you squeeze it really hard, it would beep, beep, beep. I don't know if he makes them anymore. It was really clever. And I remember back, this is 20 years ago, at my old club, I was having some ladies try it, right? Because they wanted to try it. And one lady she wanted to try it during our travel to our USTA league practice team, right? So I said, hey, you can practice with it all day, And it was so funny because 40 minutes into the lesson, I said, okay, guys, we're going to work on overheads. I need a guinea pig out here to try something. And I go, hey, Sally, will you come out? And I said her name, Sally, come out to hit overhead, and her grip went off. Because she was like, and we all got a laugh out of it because she was like, she didn't want to really go out there and hit overheads in front of her friends. But that was so funny. But basically what I think happens is a grip tension is about a 2, and then a volley, it tightens to a 3. On a touch volley, I might start a 2 and keep it at a 2. So let that racket kind of absorb versus, a real jab. Think of a high five. Like, here's me giving myself a high five. It's a high five, a high five. This is also a high five. So it wasn't bigger, right? And that's what I think. Here's what I would teach for a volley. Here's how you should hit the volley where you add. Notice the size. About here. Here's how you match. Here's how you take power off. So the difference, you hear the impact, that's going to mean difference amount. But you saw that every time, it wasn't, here's how I add. Here's how I match. Here's how I take power off. As soon as your swing size gets big, particularly on the add, your racket goes back. Now you got timing issues. It might be genius if you time it just right, like a pro. But if you're a little bit ahead of it, a little behind it. So rather than do all this, you can do it with intensity. And that does the trick. So again, this is add. I take it back just about my face. This is match. This is take power off. Okay, so think of it that way. And I think so many times where we think power, we just say it has to, on a ground stroke, maybe. Obviously, the more you take your bigger backswing, the more potential power, but that's not necessarily how you want your power. Okay. On a return curve, on a 100-mile-an-hour return, you don't want a big backswing. Well, yeah, things coming. I want to, you can borrow some of that power and stay compact. And maybe it's only back, instead of a 5 backswing, it's a 3 backswing, and kind of counterpunch it. Those skills are super important. I don't think a lot of people realize that.
For sure. Paula, did that answer your question? And I was curious if you had a ball machine or not.
I do have a ball machine, and
Awesome.
I will definitely be using that now.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
It's really
Thank
helpful.
Sure.
I saw Mike, I don't know if we addressed this technique, but the bounce hit, that came from, it's gold. I think it came from Timothy Galloway's book, The Inner Game of Tennis. So we're talking 1970s or something, right? And I remember my coach telling me to do that as a way to help my timing, okay? He went one step further, which I adopted. I think bounce is, so you call these things out loud, okay? The ball comes towards me. When it bounces on my side, I say bounce. And right when I make impact, boom, I say hit, okay? Bounce, hit, bounce, hit. My coach added split bounce hit, meaning that when the other opponent hit, I would say and execute a split step with my feet, maybe get up on my toes. Then when it came over here, I'd say bounce, hit, split, bounce, hit. And if you did it in real life, it would have this cadence: split, bounce, hit, split, bounce, hit, split, bounce, hit. The bounce hit is all on my side, and the split's way over there. So it has almost like a rhythm to it. So split, bounce, hit, or bounce hit. Bounce hit is plenty good, but split, bounce, hit is what I use with my players. And it's really helpful because I have people doing just the bounce hit and they're flat-footed. So I say, let me see your sweep be going. And I usually, when I teach this, I'll say, I'll do it with you, because sometimes they can't, calling it out audibly freaks them out because they're too focused on the shot. So I'll do it with you. Split, bounce, hit, split, bounce, hit. And then I'll say, okay, you keep going and I'll be quiet. And that's how you teach it. But very, very effective in helping with your timing.
So on the split step, if you're watching them, I tried to do this on Friday night when I played to help with the volley, especially, was when they hit the ball, I went to my split so that I would be in a better position to go either way on the volley, right?
Yes. So I'm going to see if I can show you guys something, because I'm hoping I can do it, but I'm going to share my screen once again. Excuse me, guys, for my cough.
And then after doing it a few times, I tended to forget to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's because you're not in automatic stage yet. You're in, conscious competence is what that's called. So let me show you. This is the website I told you about, guys. This is where you get that free 4-part mental toughness series. If you click there, it's going to tell you, here's the 4 videos you would get right there. But under here, this is all the free lessons, right? So let's do net play. I'm hoping it's this. I can't remember where I have it. No, I'm going to think this is baseline play. I made a video because my players were so shockingly unaware of what really happens on the split step. And I'm hoping I can find it here. So, all right, 3. When they hit hard, when they hit cross court. Okay, now I'm mad because I can't find it. Might be return to serve. I'll know because the thumbnail is funny. It's my pro hitting a weird, maybe that play. So what most people don't really recognize is that when you do a split step, the timing of the split step is really everything. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to try to go here because I really want to show you this. I haven't seen videos like this very often. So let's see. I'm in here, my channel for your videos. And when I filmed this, a lot of people were like, whoa, that was kind of revealing. Tennis, here it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you this video. Let me go like this. Let me just, we don't need that. So this is Adam, and that's my wife, Marty, over there, right? So let's just kind of watch this without volume, and you'll see what's going on. I got behind Adam, okay, and watch right there. So I don't know if you can see, but Marty's just hit the ball. You see it way over there? Let's make this.
Yeah.
Okay, so she hit the ball. Make this even bigger yet. And look at, he's up in the air. So the question of when does a split step happen? And you can find footage of this all over the place now, but basically, when that ball gets hit, Federer, whoever, is going to be literally airborne. So when they come down, they already know I should be coming down left or right. So watch Adam come down here. He lands. Oh, it's because I'm talking over this video. So this is a slow motion video. So I just let it go. But you can see he's airborne. And most people, that's me showing Marty hitting the ball right there. There's just strings. And I zoom out. Okay, so this is proof, basically. There's Marty. And I zoom back out, and there's Adam up in the air, basically. So what really happens is now here's Adam landing, and he's already taken off. All right. So over and over and over, if you research this, you'll see that the player's feet, they're up in the air. That's when the ball gets hit. And then they come down. Let's pretend these are my feet. And they're really good ones like Federer. They're up in the air. They see the ball goes that way to their left. So instead of landing and going, they actually land like this. This foot lands, this one doesn't. Okay, like that. Video on my website of Sangha doing the exact same thing. Split, see this right foot, it's kind of like a slide. It's really interesting when you dissect it to death. But yeah, split step, I secretly measure players like our junior players, junior high players, or, elementary school players. When we're measuring their I don't tell them this because a lot of times they do it wrong, but I'm just going to measure them. They split step or they don't. And probably 50% of them, when the other guy hits, there's nothing. They're completely flat-footed. There's not that little anticipation that even most 3-5 players and 3-0 players are making. Maybe a senior doesn't, At my club anyway, I have some 70-year-old guys and gals, and they're not doing that so much. But really, it's a fundamental thing. If they're not doing it, I'm showing it and I'm teaching it. But every good player will do that. That's a more universal thing than anything, that you're not flat-footed, that you're up in the air. And when you really, now with these cameras, I wouldn't have told you. 20 years ago, I would have said, I think you split step right when they hit, meaning I would have guessed that when I land, that's when they hit. Now evidence shows that most often than not, I'm in the air, they hit, then I land second, right? but it's a big difference because if I'm getting efficient, then I can cut left or right and get out of the blocks quick. You can be fast in the sport without being, a great athlete if you're just efficient.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
Great stuff, Jorge. Great questions as well, Paula. So Christopher, I saw you raise your hand earlier. Question from you?
Yes, since Coach was talking about volleying, I just wanted to ask one more thing. One of the challenges I have with my volley, the major challenge is my volleys too often sit up for just a second too long.
Okay.
I was wondering if you could give me any ideas or techniques to try to eliminate that.
So usually when people have a volley that sits up, not usually, we know what's happening is your racket face, if this is my racket face, instead of hitting like this, you might be hitting like that. So if I make a golf analogy, let's just say that a perfect volley almost always open face, and let's just call this a 3-iron, for golf analogy. You might be hitting it with a 5-iron. What does that do? It makes the ball pop up more. Okay. Takes a little bit of power off. And that tends to happen when the ball is lower underneath the net, because when it's under the net, I have to have my face open. So then it's just a matter of like, well, how much is it, because really when you watch Federer hit backhand volleys, he has all 9 clubs, right? He can hit some like this. He can hit some like this. He can hit some like this, because it just depends on how he wants the ball to behave. So I think it's all pretty much, volleyer can do all those. By the way, if you did my little suggested homework where you add, so here's what most people do when they, without me even saying it, when they add power, they kind of use like a three iron. When they match power, it's about a 4. And when they take power off, almost without me saying, they're opening it up, because the more you open it up, the more you're, especially with a loose grip tension, you can take it off. So one way I would practice, I'm a big believer in this contrast practice, where don't just practice hitting firm volley that don't pop. Hit a firm volley and immediately a soft one that does pop up, and then boom, 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 boom. The back and forth is same thing. You can't hit all first serves 100 in a row and then hit all second serves and say, I'm ready, because you don't get 100 chances to hit a first serve in a match. You got to hit a first serve and immediately a kicker, then it's a boomer there. So practice what a match will put you through. Think of the other thing is some depth targets on the other side. So if I'm volleying that way, I take the service box and I cut it in half. The near half is zone 1 for me. The back half of the service box, zone 2. Then I take no man's land and I do the same thing. Maybe you play at a club where there's a blue line right there. Some of those. So right behind the service line is zone 3. And behind that blue line, way in the hell back there, that's zone 4. And out of bounds is zone 5. Okay. So use those depth targets, because the worst depth target to hit is 3. And you go, well, why? That's a pretty deep volley, because that's what your opponent wants. If I'm the passer, you hit a ball into zone 3, that's like you're being my ball machine. Thank you, Lord. It bounces here, crosses my waist high. So keep it out of 3. 4s are gnarly. If I volley into 4, you know what I think is going to come back my way? A lob. If I hit a volley and it goes that deep, almost for sure, that'll push the person back a little bit. And almost for sure, they're going to lob or throw up a looper. If the person comes running forward, they go sprinting forward to a short ball, they don't lob that. No one runs forward and then lobs. I drive that ball. So a lot of this is kind of predictable. So one of the other things I will do, besides the add, match, and take away power, is I'll say, let's do some zone work. Hit all your volleys to zone 4. Now hit all your volleys to zone 2. Now hit all your volleys, alternate, zone 4, zone 1, zone 4, zone 1, and they're coming random. Then you're really starting to develop some sick volleys. But I think it's just a matter of, I don't think that, there's a thing someone told me, I think Jack Grapple back in the day, it's like, the ball only goes where it aims. He had this famous foam arrow you put in the throat. He says, if the ball hit that sign over there, it was aiming at that sign. And if the ball hit the net, it was aiming downish towards the net. And if the ball went way the hell out over the fence, you launched it way, so that arrow, I was really bad as a junior at self-diagnosing. I hit a serve in the net, and they hit another serve in the net, and I go, damn it. I was too dumb to just say, okay, it goes in the net for a reason for it. I mean, there's no way I was too far back and launched it. It had to be that I was too far in front and I'm smothering it. So just toss it a little bit further back. It'll send it a little farther and I can fix myself here. I didn't, unfortunately, learn that until I was like 22. And then I became a lot smarter about things. But oddly, right around 22, I started teaching a lot. So I think I was paying attention more. But I was very immature and snotty about it. Like, I just, why do I suck when it matters? Instead of like thinking a little bit, some of the stuff wasn't brain surgery. I couldn't figure it out.
So do you think overall then my racket face is a little too open?
Yeah. Without seeing you on the court, that I can almost predict that that's probably what's happening. Or you might be doing this little thing where underspin on the volley is not a product of coming under the ball. It's a product of having that 3-iron and the ball goes up the strings. But a lot of people, instead of going like this, if I just did this, boom, that's going to have underspin. That does not do underspin. That was a famous argument with Vic Braden and John McEnroe, where McEnroe said, in his own eyes, he thought that he volleyed and held the ball in the strings and came under the ball. He was using that phrase. And Vic Braden, he was featured in that movie, by the way, with the Williams sisters. He was a famous old coach. He was the first to start doing video stuff. And he said, no, because the ball's only on the strings 4 milliseconds. When you do this, John, when this hits this ball, this is my ball, and the ball leaves from this for air, that ball's already gone. Macro, no way in hell. And they finally showed him, and there's Macro. Boom, the ball's gone, and here's Mac. The ball's long gone. And it's like, whoa. So he literally thought he would grab the ball and hold it and come under it. And it's just not math. It's not science.
Good stuff. Thanks for that. Great question as usual. Jamie, you have a question as well, right? Go for it.
Stay on the subject of volleys. So like I said, I think at this point, my technical foundation is fine. It significantly exceeds my mathematical level, which is still, unfortunately, a 2.5. I'm not a 2.5, but USTA thinks I am. Sure. But particularly in singles, my problem is placement, and I'm just too nice. I think in practice, I could execute any kind of volley I'm told to execute, but where I choose to put them in matches, it's too nice, and they get them back, and maybe I get 2 back, maybe I get 3 back, but the end result is I'm screwed. Either way. And just figuring out how do I, especially because I'm short and I'm susceptible to lobs, and at my level, they go really deep, like, how do I get out of this point before I'm screwed?
So a couple things. Probably one of the biggest mistakes I see our league players make, women and men, when it comes to volleys, singles or doubles, usually it's doubles, is they volley. Basically, my team is up, the other team is back. Okay. My team's already doing plan B because they would tell you I better back my front. Very few players at my club say, oh, my front court game is better than my back court game. Okay. So they're at the front because they think they have to, or it's a strategy. So they're doing, let's call it plan B. The opponents are back at the baseline, which is their plan A. Okay. So now we're wondering, why doesn't my plan B not beat their plan A? So a couple things. We volley, and almost, I have a drill. I do the same drill a lot with this group of 3Os that I used to work with. And they would routinely hit a super, almost like a feed, a really careful, soft hit volley that landed in zone 3 to these gals at the baseline. And literally, before I would even bounce on the other side, I'm like, back up, back up, back up. And my gal's like, what? Back up? And then they get lopped. And they didn't have the foresight to know, like, that ball, even as it's traveling that way, I think it's going to land deep. I know Sally's going to back up. 1,000,000% of the time when she backs up, she throws up a lot because she's in trouble. And I don't need to get lobbed in order to see that it's coming. So a lot of that pay attention to the other opponent. Almost always, the effect of your volley is going to make your opponent do one of three things only. They're either going to stay put, I call that a stay. In other words, they're on the baseline, they're going to maybe go left or right, but they're not going forward or back. Or your volley will push them back, even one step, where they back up a little bit, that's a back. Or your volley will make them come up, okay? So up, back, stay. So I do a drill where I volley, and I have my opponent, it's cooperative, and I will volley, and they will say up, back, stay, yelling out what they're doing, giving me feedback, okay? So be aware so you can pick up a lot more. The second thing, you have to develop a drop volley or a touch volley. And if they do that, unfortunately, no one thinks to add that to their arsenal, and they hit these volleys occasionally by accident. And every time they do it, the point ends. We win the point outright. And then the other team's like, oh, crappy shot. And my team's like, oh, I got lucky. Like, dude, you got to do that intentionally. And then the other thing, I'll see if I can show it to you. There's a game, right? So there's this little story that happened to me. I'm at Hope College. I'm a Division III school. And there is, I'm the manager of the thing. I've coached a whole lot of years. I never wanted to be the full-time coach. But when my daughter played on the team, the then coach, Adam Ford, who I used to coach, asked me, hey, would you volunteer coach? I said, okay, I'll do it. So I go out there and I'm coaching them. And I'm going to show you something here in a minute. Let me share my screen. There's a game I want to teach you about called Cuban Davis Cup. It's hands down the best game that you could do. You can even do it with just a buddy. Okay, so let me see if I can pull it up. This website has 2,000 drills, so I can't remember where they all are. Okay, here it is. Cuban Davis Cup. Okay. Oh, it's a free one. So, all right. So let me talk over. So I'm going to go to the top view, and here's how this game is played. Now I'm playing it here with 4 people, but it can be played with 2 people, and I recommend trying this because now there's a thing when you guys, I'm sure you're all practicing, but the balance of practice versus training, those are 2 different things. Pros on the tour, they train. They're not in learning mode that much anymore. They've learned it all, and they're just training. They're sparring. They're working out. So what happens here? Let's see if I can cut to the top view. Here we go. So the doubles version of this is these 2 guys. That's Tyler. That's Jolene. They're playing as a doubles team against these 2 guys. That's Bob and that's Michael. So they go one at a time. This is a cross-court game only. So Tyler has fed the ball, and he comes flying in. He has to. Remember, Jolene's not playing right now, and he's not playing. Just the cross court. And because the rule is this guy must come in. That's if you don't come in, you don't even win the point. This is hard. You're going to get lots of touches on the ball, and they're going to be live balls. So you don't know what the hell you're going to get. You're going to get here's a low volley. Okay, here he gets a high volley, and he finishes it. So watch. That's now he resets, and then these guys quickly go. I love the doubles. Okay, she fed it, she screwed up. Okay, now they lost it. Now he goes real quick. And they just take turns charging the net. Now, if you're playing this and you say, well, I don't have 4 people, you can just play this with 2 people, play it cross court, and then go to the other corner, play it cross court. So what I like about this drill is it's 100% touches on the ball, and it's live ball. It's cross court, meaning, and half court, meaning it's, if it was full court, I tested this drill a million different ways. If it's full court, you don't get nearly as many touches in the ball because people are going around you. When you make people go through you, you're going to have to volley. Okay, those touches on the ball in a live ball where you're scoring, but it's not a real match, are what you need. Now, if you didn't know how to volley, like, hey, it sounds like your technique is good, so probably wouldn't need to spend tons of time at the ball machine. But if you do that drill with either a foursome, by the way, it's a riot, or just me and my buddy this way, just 2 of us, it could be a workout. Our college teams do that with 2 people on the court all the time. So one guy's hitting passive shots and lobs, the other guy is volleying to death. And I even have a little twist to that game where the volleyer, I asked the volleyer he volleys, he has to say over or under. Every time he makes a volley, kind of like split hit, you say over, under. Over means I'm volleying above net level. Under means I'm volleying under net level. And there's always this little hidden gem in there, which is 90 times out of 100, the most common thing you hear is over, 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 because the passer on the other side, he's not playing smart. He's hitting hard, giving you balls above net level, which is not good on his part. If you played Rafa in this game with all his freaking topspin, you wouldn't be saying over a lot. Rafa would be the master of dipping it at your feet. You'd be under, and you wouldn't win at all. Okay. So that's a clever game called Cuban Davis Cup. It's funny. I was born in Havana, Cuba, so I call it the Cuban Davis Cup because I invented it. But there's nothing weird about Cubanness with it. It's just a drill I invented. But that was my go-to that helped our college team, because our college team, a lot of our, including my daughter, they went to the net a lot, and we played these big schools like with 4-star players. Our net game wasn't as good as their. Our net game was better than their net game, but you know what? They knew that, so they didn't come to the net against us. They stayed back and wailed on their awesome ground strokes against our net. So they weren't dumb. If all 4 players went to net, we won that well over half the time. So it's not like in a doubles match, the team with the best net game doesn't necessarily win, because if my net game is not as good as your baseline game, which is what you're doing, then that's what really matters. You say, we're way better at the net than they are. Didn't matter. That scenario never came up. So that's kind of an interesting, but try Cuban Davis Cup. It's definitely a great training game. It'll give you tons of live balls. In an hour's time, you could get literally multiple hundreds of volleys, under your belt. And then you start learning the art. That one should have been deep. Ooh, that was low. I probably should have just hit it soft. I missed my opportunity there. And there's all these learning lessons that you can glean from that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Jorge. And then we're pretty much at time. I guess, was there any one last pressing question or anything? Well,
guys, I'm super happy to be picked by Mehrban to help with this little kind of post tennis files. It was good, huh? Everybody loved the tennis files this year. It's crazy.
Thanks for bribing them to say yes.
Yeah, I have to say yeah. But thank you, Mehrban, for first of all, for doing all that work. And I know, you imagine recording, just tracking down people and recording 40 sessions and then editing them and putting them all the live stuff. So I know it's enormous. As someone who promotes the thing to, my 30,000 email people, it's an easy promote because you can watch stuff for free. We all know like 90% of the people aren't going to buy it, but still 100% of the people can watch it for free. So that's a really cool way of doing it. I congratulate you for that. And you guys, thanks for hopping on tonight. I always love talking tennis. I'm a old tennis nerd, so that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jorge. I appreciate the kind words. And, thank you all for being so passionate about the game. Real quick, though, Jorge, is there anywhere you want to, point our friends to check out, if they'd like to?
Yeah, probably. I do have 2 websites. One is tennisreels.tv, and it's mostly for coaches. It's got 2,000 tennis reels on it. But the other one is just my name, jorgecapestany.com, and that's all free over there. Plus you get that free mental toughness thing. So I definitely start there. If you want the free mental toughness, go ahead and sign up for it. If not, everything there is basically free. It's all YouTube videos. And it's sorted by serves and this, that, and the other. And there's some articles in there. So I think that's a good place to get a bunch of free content from me.
Fantastic. So I put those in the link. But yeah, thanks again, everybody. It was fun to see you all. And next we have Wednesday at 8 p.m. with Peter Freeman, who's another great coach, and he'll have a lot of great info for you and have a lot of high energy as well. So yeah, that's it for now. And I'll keep you updated with Paul's session. It's just very hard to nail him down just because, he's coaching.
Travel in the world, that guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's coaching Taylor Fritz and all that. So, but yeah, I will keep you updated on all that. And yeah, thanks so much. Great to see you again. And
okay, guys, thanks for checking in. Appreciate y'all.
Have a good one.
All right. I really hope that you enjoyed this session of the podcast with Jorge Capestany. And thanks again, Jorge, for all your knowledge and insight into the game, and also for the great questions from the individuals in this episode. So with that, would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the Tennis Files podcast, and you can do that by going to tennisfiles.com/Apple Podcasts with an S at the end, or just, searching for the Tennis Files podcast in your favorite app of choice that you use to listen to the show. Also want to leave you with a quote, as I often do at the end of pretty much every show, and this one is by Pablo Picasso, and Pablo said, "Action is the foundational key to all success." It truly is. If you just listen to these episodes and the summits and other coaches, but you don't take any actions and you're sitting on the couch just thinking about things for a long time, then nothing will really happen for you. So you need to really go out there and put it into practice, gradually and in the right environment, and then you will experience, little wins that turn into great successes over time. All right, really hope that you enjoyed that episode. I look forward to bringing you some more great ones. We have one with Peter Freeman, my very good friend and coach from Crunch Time Coaching, coming up very soon. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And with that, I will see you on the next episode of the Tennis Files podcast. This is Mehrbon Aranchad signing out.